Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Peter Treacher. I'm Sales and Business Development Director for C21 Media, which hopefully some of you may know. We provide a lot of news and information to the worldwide TV industry. This panel will be addressing new media strategy, which I'm very excited to be hosting today, mainly because there's a massive opportunity for content owners and broadcasters to really drill down and find out what the specific opportunities are for your own content on the platforms that you see here today. On that note, I'd like this to be a really interactive session, so please do ask your questions. And the format for doing that, as you can see on the screen there, is if you go to asiatvforum.com/ask, we will be taking questions from the audience via the iPad I have with me after we've had the presentations from the panel. Without further ado, we're going to hear from our panelists, and we have, with respect to the audience left, we have Tommy Lee, who I should point out is not a member of the Motley Crue rock band, but in fact has still had a large impact on the entertainment industry in Korea. He's head of media and entertainment for SK Planet, South Korea. Then we have Jeewoong Kim next up. He's business development manager for NBC and has been the brains and the strategy behind the launch of Pooq, which is the Hulu of Korea, South Korea, I should say. Next up, we'll have Sara Jen, who's head of business development and partnerships for Viki here in Singapore. Sara used to run digital media and new media distribution for Warner Brothers previously, so there's a really good opportunity to ask her some questions about how these deals are done from a content owner's point of view. Finally, we have Gautam Anand, who is Director of YouTube Partnerships and Operations for Asia Pacific for Google. So without further ado, Tommy, would you like to come up to the podium and tell us about SK Planet?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me here. Also, I thank ATF for having me here as well. I'd like to actually, I come from a telco background here, and also before telco, I was at entertainment and media industry launching a few channels overseas. I want to actually give everyone here that what telcos actually do and what their strategy is going forward. So next slide, please. Oh, I guess I have that. I want to introduce SK Telecom. Just a quick intro of our parent company. We have over 27 million subs. That's about a 50% market share. Annual revenue of $15 billion. We're the world's first to build out a CDMA network. And more importantly, 12.3 million LTE subs. That's about approximately 45% of our total subs. There is a reason why I wanted to actually give you the overall perspective of our parent company, because SK Telecom, if you actually recall, telecom companies are very heavy. They're very infrastructure-driven business model with a lot of money and capital investments into their business model, and they make a lot of money off of that. And SK Planet, which the company that I'm going to be introducing you, wanted to get away from that, and we wanted to actually speed things up to the trend and the media and entertainment trend of the world. So these are 4 key business areas that we focus on: digital content, and also commerce platform, location-based services, and also social and portal platforms. These are some of the key services that we have. I don't really want to go into too much detail, but the important fact is that we have we're engaged in many different media and entertainment services, as well as e-commerce activities. So just to give you a little bit of background on one of our OTT services, Hopin, we launched it in January of 2011. And we currently have about 4 million subscribers with about 3.5 million UVs a month, which isn't a huge number. If you consider, for example, Viki has over 20 million monthly UVs. But one of the nicest features we provide our customers is that we actually have a continuous play and plug service. If you actually, let's say you downloaded a movie or Korean TV series, and you're watching it on mobile device when you're going back home, and you wanted to actually continue watching that on a bigger screen, let's say TV or PC screen. All you have to do is, connect your HDMI cable to TV or PC screen. Then you pick up right where you left off. So that's a user experience that we provide to our customers. And that's a slide that I don't think you'll be too much interested in looking at, but that just basically shows you that the smartphone, a mobile device, is central to our services. And I wanted to actually introduce you to our e-commerce service because our next slide, which explains our strategy going forward next 3 years, has to do a lot with content and commerce play. Because coming from mobile, we don't just focus on content distribution, but we also focus on providing online and offline experience to a lot of our customers. So e-commerce is a big part of our strategy going forward. So next 3 years, content and commerce will be integrated as on and offline activities converge onto one single device, which is mobile device. And we believe that there is a pre-transaction activities that customers do, and there is a transaction activities that customers are engaged in. And we wanted to actually close that gap. And for both pre-transaction, which is very much traffic-driven, to a offline experience. For example, our membership services and our 11th Street e-commerce service. And also our digital marketplace where we have app stores and we have video services such as Hopin. We wanted to actually make sure that those experiences are integrated with our offline membership service so that we can provide a lot of value to our customers. I think that's about a quick introduction of our company, and if you have any questions about our strategy going forward, and then we could just give me a quick, you can ask me during our Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Jeewoong, would you like to take the podium?
Hi, thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to tell you the story of Pooq to the audience here at the ATF 2013. I believe South Korean new media market is one of the most advanced market in the world due to the highest penetration rate of broadband and smartphone. In fact, teenagers in Korea, 97.7% of teenagers use smartphones. So this kind of unique environment actually pushed the broadcasters to move more bravely and more innovatively. And this is one example, a joint venture by the Korean broadcasters called Pooq. So in the era of analog television, the broadcasting itself was a platform. So we had our touch point with the viewers. However, the world has changed and the viewers became active consumers who use IPTVs or YouTubes or Viki to watch the videos online. So this was our major challenge we faced. Because content owners were cut off from the viewers, which meant we were not accessible to the information that the consumers are giving to the platform. That means that we're not making more money from the advertising. So then what happens? Platforms become bigger and richer, and content owners become smaller and poorer. So what the broadcasters in Korea attempt to do was to create, to restore, and recreate the platform and thus the touch point with the consumers. So Pooq is an online video platform, and it's our own platform. So broadcasters were able to earn two things. First, it was the data, and we were able to gain consumer insight from them. And second, it was the higher bargaining power, because now Pooq was an alternative to other platforms. So I'll tell you how we did it. So it was the world like this before to the broadcasters. We were competing each other fiercely. I'll call this the narrow or the traditional view. But actually, this is the real world of the media industry. So broadcasters are only a small fraction of the entire industry here. Look at the numbers, and you will find out how small broadcasters are, and you will be surprised. So I'm not talking about how we're fighting everyone, but let's look at the big picture, and we'll see different things. So we changed the market definition from broadcasting to the media, the entire media. So then SBS, our rival, longtime rival for decades, became a friend in some way. So we were actually naturally able to move away from competing each other and to focus on the consumers. So consumers wanted to watch TV anywhere, anytime. So that's what exactly Pooq did. So Pooq is focused on the premium content, and it offers the online experience through tablets, smartphones, and PC, of course, and even on the smart TVs. It offers more than 40 channels, and it also offers the VODs. And you can actually access to 1.7 million VODs only by paying $5.6 per month. So the consumers, the reason why we're excited about Pooq is that Pooq caught the young target. So the average age of Pooq users are 25 to 34 years old, and they actively watch Pooq 33 hours per month. And within a year, we were able to gather 2.1 million subscribers, and 11% of them turned into the paid users. So the OTT service or the market in Korea is very competitive market, but Pooq is trying to focus on the premium and live plus VOD market, and our actual main competitor is TVing, which was launched first in the market, and we surpassed their paid subscribers within a year, and we're expected to grow at least more than 2 times next year. So I really want to share the lessons that I learned doing Pooq, actually to the broadcasters out there in the audience. So please look at the bigger picture. I'm not talking like you have to fight everyone and treat everyone as enemies, but you have to make friends to survive in this competitive market. But in my experience, your closest neighborhood is your best friend. And second, when the Roman Empire, the great Roman Empire fell, they were sitting in the mighty castle. So I want to see, sometimes I see Roman Empire in media companies. So traditional media companies actually lack some innovations and changes. So I really want to see more changes and innovations led by broadcasters from all over the world. And I want to hear more about different Pooq stories maybe next year at the ITF. So I would like to close the presentation with the famous favorite quote, time is always on attacker's side. That was said by the Shiono Nanami in the book of The Fall of Constantinople. Thank you.
Thank you, Yong. Okay, Sara.
afternoon. So, what is Viki? Viki is a global TV powered by fans. And what we're doing is we're licensing content from all around the world, and we're taking it global by localizing it with the power of our community. And our community actually self-organizes and translates these content into, already today, more than 160 languages. Okay. As you may have heard, we've just been acquired as of September by Rakuten, the 4th largest internet services company in the world. And jointly, our ambition is to grow Viki into a 300 million users worldwide, and now we're fully funded to go after it. So my name is Sara, and prior to Viki, I worked at Warner Brothers for 3 years doing content licensing to new media in Asia. And now at Viki, I head up business development, which includes content acquisition, as well as sort of all aspects of China. So let's start with why. Like, why is Viki relevant, in the context of the subject today? Today, Viki is already 24 million viewers from around the world. So we do have a global footprint. And that includes large pockets in South America, North America, Southeast Asia, and Europe. And as of Q3 this year, China. We're accessible across platform, PC, mobile, connected TV, and viewers are able to access more than 17,000 hours of primetime television, movies, as well as entertainment news content from all around the world. Today, the content on our service originates from 50 countries around the world, and many of which are actually through our relationship with broadcasters, major broadcasters and content partners. So Jeewoong, I'm going to help you see how we can work together too. So ultimately, what differentiates Viki in the market is really our community of avid fans. And in fact, together, our community, as of today, has already translated up to 400 million words. And that is the equivalent of about 10,000 novels. So how and in what ways should any of this matter to you, the content production producers and also the broadcasters? First, with Viki, you actually can have your cake and eat it too, since we find new audiences which give you incremental monetization opportunities. For instance, in late August, we launched the Chinese web drama Le Junkai, which otherwise known as The Unconditional Love, in simulcast with Sohu, one of the largest video portals in China. And a closer look at the numbers show that only 8% of the total views to date actually comes from Chinese-speaking countries. This particular show had already been translated into 28 languages, including Czech, French, and Bahasa, and has contributed to our rapid growth in terms of the Chinese Chinese content genre around the world, with particular strength actually in North America. In fact, some of the early successes that we've seen through this partnership has triggered an exciting output arrangement with Sohu for the full slate of original productions in 2014. This is something that we're very excited about. Similar results were actually observed when we launched Japanese TV series Innocent Lilies in simulcast with TV Asahi in Japan. And it was translated into actually 16 languages within the first 48 hours of broadcast, and generated millions of views from around the world. Some of the top markets include China, Philippines, and Mexico. So to further validate actually this observation, we partnered up with YouTube. And in doing so, we saw 3.2 times to 5 times increase in views for Playful Kiss, a Korean drama, when measured before and after adding subtitles. So essentially what we did is we added about 7 out of 33 language subtitles. So second, we're able to extend shelf life of your content, essentially the monetization window for your content. So typical behavior of viewership for a TV drama is basically like peaks and valleys, right, during broadcast. And then it flatlines after it's off air. Now, on the contrary, on Viki, when we launched Taiwanese drama True Love, a title from 2012, so a library title this year, the viewership increased dramatically as soon as it was translated into English. So in this sort of format, even though it's a library, And then 5x multiple is what we saw when it was translated into Spanish, and another 2x further when it was translated into Bahasa. So this is the power of our community and our platform. And additionally, the social nature of Viki also provides early insight into content interests that is otherwise unknown. For instance, we know from the speed and completion rate of languages that a large potential market for Korean movies is Saudi Arabia. And for Taiwanese dramas is France and Brazil. Who would have known? So back to the question, why is Viki the key? As a global destination accessible anywhere, anytime, on any device, we're uniquely able to unlock the value and opportunity to efficiently access new markets and extend the content monetization window for your content through localization and data insight, and ultimately enabling you to capture the incremental value from new media. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you. Gautam.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I don't have slides, but hopefully all of you have heard about YouTube. If you haven't, then come talk to me. That's a separate issue. I've been with Google for 9 years now, and I've been involved with online video since 2000, so that probably makes me a little bit of an online video veteran. I started a company in this space back in 2000, and got involved with YouTube pretty much at the time of the acquisition, which was in 2006. The service has obviously come a long way since then. At the time of the acquisition, it was primarily US traffic. Now, 80% of our traffic comes from outside the US. We're localized in 61 countries and in 61 languages. We have 1 billion unique users coming to the site every month, which is obviously a massive audience that you guys can tap into. We've got 100 hours of content that is being uploaded to the site every minute. And that's a stat that goes up pretty much every few months. So it gives you some sense for the scope of activity that's taking place as far as new content being ingested into the YouTube ecosystem. 6 billion hours of content is being viewed on a monthly basis by the billion people that come to us regularly. So it's a massive platform that's helping create a lot of opportunities for content owners to distribute content on a global basis. We partner with most of the folks here. MBC works with us in Korea. Sara talked about how Viki's been working with us here as well. And if you think about how YouTube has evolved, I would say think about going back to when there was free-to-air television and cable came around and gave rise to hundreds of channels from 3 to 4 channels that existed before that. And what we're seeing is the emergence of the next million channels across different topics, across niche areas of interest. And that's the phenomenon that's taking place now. In fact, we've spent the last year re-architecting the site from really not focusing on individual pieces of content. If you think about how you typically experience YouTube is, somebody sends you a link to a funny video or a music video, and you go to it, you watch that, and you watch a couple other videos, and then you go away. What we're trying to do is really create an experience around channels that you subscribe to, that you come back on a daily basis to consume content from. And we're seeing a lot of success there. In fact, the guide, which is your list of channels that you've subscribed to now, is pervasive across all different devices. So the same consistent experience is available on the PC side, on mobile, on tablets. That's really, really important because mobile is actually becoming really important. And I think as content owners, you have to figure out how are you addressing that audience that's pretty much consuming content on the go when they want and how they want it. I think globally, 40% of our traffic is now mobile. In a lot of markets across APAC, it's actually much higher. So Korea is 60%. Japan has just crossed 50%. Even a market like India is getting close to 40% of the viewership coming from mobile. And that creates a very different dynamic, right? How do you program for mobile? Are there different viewing habits that people have on the mobile side? So as content owners, I think those are trends that you must look for. And then analytics. I mean, I think the great thing about YouTube is that our partners get very, very deep analytics as far as where the viewership is happening, and what are the pockets of interest, where are the fans for your content. Services like Viki are obviously helping expand that by subtitling and captioning, but those audiences do exist everywhere. I mean, if you think about Korean content, and we've talked about Korean dramas and K-pop as becoming very popular, the fact is that a lot of these content owners from Korea started working with us quite early on. They've been on the platform since 2007. We were just talking about how CJ actually started working with us back in 2007. Today we have partnerships with most of the major Korean labels. They release a lot of their music videos on YouTube. We have partnerships with most of the major Korean broadcasters. And they've really invested into YouTube and invested into exporting their content. And I think that's part of the reason why they're seeing success. Someone on my team who runs the partnerships in Korea usually puts up this visual of a K-pop video that was released back in 2007, and it'll show viewership mostly in Korea, a little bit in Japan, a little bit in Southeast Asia. Now if you look at the same viewership for a music video that's released by a major K-pop artist, it's truly global. So that's the power of investing in this audience that is dispersed everywhere, is that you can actually find new fans, new audiences that you didn't even know existed before by making that content available more freely to that, to the fans, regardless of where they are. So that's really, kind of a brief intro on where we are and how we're thinking about partnerships and users and distributing content. And we'll obviously talk more about this during our Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. So we have a couple of questions for each of the panelists. Tommy, you have 4 million subscribers now. How on earth will you be able to increase that in the face of competition from services like Pooq and our friends on the panel?
Well, I think signing more deals on the content side, like good friends from NBC and other broadcasters. We're actively seeking output deals every year, and also, by providing more user-friendly experience and also giving them a more technologically advanced and more money for the buck, actually, for all the telco users and the subscribers.
Okay. Jeewoong, it's interesting to see how Pooq has developed in terms of building the service with other broadcasters in Korea. I believe KBS is coming on board as a partner, and I'm interested to find out how that works because they're a competitor.
So we're talking with KBS, certainly, to join in the Pooq, but they have different issues, so that's a complex story. But we were viewing each other as competitors, or I should say rivals, for decades, but the world has changed too much. It's really the matter of survival for broadcasters that matter right now, so that's why we came together, actually, to be frank. And I think it's going to be more like that in the next few years. So,
okay. Tell me more about how the relationship exists with, for example, testing content for content owners. How would they use Pooq compared to the traditional linear service?
Yeah. So, actually, last month we had talked with a U.S. media company who really wanted to start the joint venture and try a cable channel in Korean market, but that would be really risky and that will cost so much. So what we are right now trying to do is try the content first on Pooq without any cost and without any much risk. So that's how we're working, and we are using Pooq to test new content in Korean market. So that's a great way to use Pooq for us and for the content owners outside of Korea.
Okay, thank you. Sara, with respect to the way content owners work with Viki, what would you say the benefits are and the issues with respect to Viki's service being so international? So, for example, territories like Indonesia? How would a content owner work with you in those territories?
In fact, today we do work with major broadcasters and content partners. In certain cases, it's in a worldwide basis, and in other cases, it may be select territory. Basically, the territory, the way it's decided, it's really based on whatever is complementary to your existing license infrastructure or license activities. So our goal at the end of the day is to be additive to your licensing activities. Meaning if you have exclusive deals in place in a certain territories, then that would be a territory that doesn't make sense for us to work together. How we add value at the end of the day is through the community of avid fans who are translating all of these content. One, we're able to get the content, the primetime content into a certain market, reach that 85% of the market who do not speak, let's say Spanish, but is in Indonesia and is interested in telenovelas. But now through our community, it then can be translated into Bahasa, now fully accessible to the 85% of the market, the full 100% in this case. And then through the promotions that we do, both with our affiliate partners and also on our own in the market, then really creating the market, the value in the market for that particular content partner, opening up the market for them, and then in other cases where they already have licensing activities, extending the shelf life.
Okay. Gautam, I'm going to move to a question from the audience, if I may, because it's directly relevant to YouTube. The question we have in particular is, apart from being just a platform, Yuko Tudo is investing $300 million into their in-house production, which is something that was discussed earlier today. In terms of YouTube, will you be exploring similar possibilities, or has the cash dried up now to be put into content owners?
So we look at ourselves truly as a platform. Being part of Google, that's primarily a technology company. What we're trying to do is create the best platform for content owners to distribute their content via. That's why I talked about channels, because these channels really belong to the content owners. We help them obviously with programming strategies, audience development strategies, best practices on how to reach consumers and have them consume their content more regularly. And if you think about YouTube, it is primarily a platform of original content. Yes, we do work with broadcasters. Yes, we do work with music labels. We have lots of sports content that we enter into partnerships, and those are channels that are being set up. But there's also individual football clubs that are setting up channels and providing content that doesn't exist on broadcast. They're providing a lot of other types of programming. There's children's content that's being created, nursery rhymes, a lot of educational content, how-to, fashion and beauty is a massive category. There's a whole ecosystem of creators and programmers that are developing, that are creating for the online medium, right? And so if you think about original, we do work very, very closely with a large set of partners that actually create original content. A great example of a crossover recently was Awesomeness TV, which was started by Brian Robbins, who used to be a child star in the US, and it just got acquired by DreamWorks. Because DreamWorks saw that there was programming being created by Awesomeness TV that was resonating with this teenage audience that they weren't actually reaching out to, and it was very different from what was being created for television. And so, those are the types of opportunities that are starting to emerge now.
Okay, so it's less about direct investment from YouTube, but more about the general.
And we're investing in helping. We obviously invest a lot in creating playbooks that people can follow. We've opened spaces where creators can come in and utilize those spaces for free. So for example, we have a 40,000 square foot facility we opened up in LA as our first studio. We've got similar studios that we've opened up in London, New York, in Tokyo at Roppongi Hills, probably one of the most expensive real estates out there, where creators can come in and utilize the space and collaborate and create content in better quality than they've been able to before.
Okay, very interesting. Moving to talk about mobile, a couple of you have mentioned the extent to which mobile devices are becoming much more prevalent as a way to access each of your services. Let's talk a bit more about how that works, how that's changing. So, can you start us off on that, Gautam?
Mobile's been something that obviously, people have, and especially in the technology field, right? There was issues last year about Facebook and how their traffic was going mobile, and was the product really built to address that? At Google, we've kind of noticed that mobile is obviously becoming a huge phenomenon. We are a global platform. At YouTube, we started seeing a lot of that happening in APAC first, especially with markets like Korea and Japan, starting to become mobile really, really fast. Android and iPhones obviously are starting to proliferate very, very actively. So a lot of the traffic is moving now from feature phones into smartphones, even in emerging markets. I think that for us, we have to figure out how do we continue to monetize in that environment in an equivalent way to the way we do it in the PC side. The viewership is consistent. So if you look at even long-form content that we get from a lot of our TV partners, we'll see that the viewership on mobile is pretty consistent to the PC side. So it's not just about snacking on content, that people are actually consuming long-form on mobile as well. For us, we'll have to just figure out how do we continue to do a good job of monetizing that for our partners.
Tommy, what's your experience as a telco with respect to mobile usage and how that's changing?
Well, I mean, we all know that video is moving to mobile, and a lot of viewership has gotten phenomenal growth on the mobile devices. But I think the key thing is how do we actually monetize better on mobile devices because of the smaller screens and because of the bandwidth issues in certain countries. In Korea, there's really not a bandwidth issue. But so SK Planet is actually thinking a lot about how do we actually create that new forms of business model for content providers and content owners who actually are targeting the mobile audience specifically to monetize. And we actually provided, we are actually currently working with content owners and content providers in Korea to provide a better monetization opportunities, such as if you're creating the shorter version, or if you're repurposing your long-form content for the mobile audience, then we may be able to give you a more sponsorship opportunities with our company. Or also, there is also opportunities to actually window the content a little bit sooner, so that the mobile operators actually will pay more for the content that you guys provide. And also there is I was specific to the last slide, there's an e-commerce opportunity on the mobile audience. So if you actually introduce, let's say, an e-commerce opportunity when you're actually developing the content for the mobile viewers, then you can also work with the mobile operators to provide an e-commerce opportunity while the mobile audience are engaged in those viewership.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. I'd like to move to another question from our audience, which is directed to you, Sara, with respect to Viki. So how actually is Viki monetizing content, and how does that differ from YouTube? Because you pay to acquire rights.
Absolutely. We do acquire all of the rights that does sit on our platform. So the way that, to think about like the rights that we acquire and where we play for a particular content, it is always incremental to the existing licensed activity, meaning essentially you could think of it like this. Any time you're earning a revenue through Viki, it's likely to be a territory with a content in a territory that either has little or no presence, where you have little or no presence. So where we think we add value is really that full increment. So that full $1 or $100 or $10,000 or $1 million is fully increment. Now that being said, a couple different ways that we do monetize. One is through advertising. Today, our advertisers have consistently told us that they are excited about the traffic and the viewership and the engagement. Part of it is because of our social DNA. Our users are actively engaging and sort of on the platform and interacting with the ads. And so that has enabled us to garner a premium CPM to what would be sort of average in the market. And then, in addition to that, we have recently beta launched a subscription-based service, which is a differentiated user experience, HD without ads. That we just launched out of beta in October, and we are testing through sort of all the processes, and so we anticipate to launch that fully in 2014. So that's something exciting for our content partners to look forward to. In addition to that, from the perspective of our being a part of Rakuten now, I think when you think about content and video and what are the new ways we can think about monetizing, something that we're looking forward to down the pike and we're in discussion already is imagine if you can watch your favorite show, and while you're watching your favorite show, your favorite character is wearing, let's say, a hoodie or a shirt or a jacket, and there is an opportunity for you, whether it's on your mobile device or it is actually on your screen on PC, to make a purchase for that particular merchandise. So that's something that we're looking forward to, so that integration of e-commerce transaction with video.
Okay, great. There's an additional content in that vein from the audience, which is how do you work with content producers? What kind of revenue share models do you operate? And we'll go around the panel with this one. So Tommy, how do your revenue share models work?
Well, our hop-in service is mainly a subscription driven model, but we have the advertising platform, so we are consistently looking at monetizing by revenue share of the advertising dollars that are created by the number of viewers. And we're also trying to look at different ways of creating those monetization opportunities, such as working with the e-commerce companies and getting really up and close partnership with the content providers and content creators to provide different monetization opportunities.
Okay.
So Pooq is fully based on subscription-based model. So we don't currently offer advertising business, but through the subscription revenue, we share the revenue with the content providers. And what we are trying to do is to create enough revenue share for the content providers. Since it's an online platform by the broadcasters, we're really interested in creating this virtuous cycle in the digital platforms for the content providers. So right now we are offering 80% of the total revenue to the content providers. Some of them are based on the traffic they provide, they attract, and some of them are distributed equally. So we have this mixture of the secret formula behind that. But if you offer the content to us, we'll absolutely tell you the exact formula. And we are actually working on the advertising model next, which will be launched next year. So we're excited to give more money to the content providers.
So we do actively share revenues with our content producers. On the advertising supported business model, in fact, we highly encourage it. And this is where Viki differs from sort of rest of the platforms. Because if you think about the translation, so once a particular language is added through the community, then it has an opportunity to reach a whole new set of market, let's say Chinese. Now suddenly all of the Chinese-speaking viewers around the world could be potentially your viewers. And therefore, as a result of that differentiated trend in the viewership, we have observed, and also our partners have observed, actually greater returns through revenue share model on the back end. So one of the Taiwanese dramas that we launched actually just in June, by August, we were already we were, I think, at break-even point through the minimum guarantees. And so given that usually our terms are anywhere between 2 to 3 years so that the community can sort of fully enjoy the content and the hard work from the subtitles. So we fully expect in year 1 to be able to revenue share with this particular content partner from Taiwan for that particular title.
Now, on the subscription side, the way that we think about revenue share is really based on the merit and the engagement that the particular content drives. So if you boil down to the formulas, it's really about viewership, so views generated, and then as it related to the overall subscription price.
Okay. Gautam, are revenue share models always the same with YouTube, or do they vary?
We have thousands of partners that we work with. Obviously, Google is primarily ad-supported. We're lucky that we're part of Google that has a sales force of over 12,000 people across the world that's selling YouTube, across 60 plus markets that we're launched. But we also realize that there's certain types of content that is more conducive to being offered in a certain window using different models. So we've got movie rentals that we've launched in several markets internationally. We've also...
Does that include in India? Is there services launching in that side? Or?
Services, yes. In Asia, rentals is launched in Korea, Australia, Japan, India. We're testing out subscription-based channels as well. And we've launched that in the US and starting to roll that out internationally. And then we continue to tweak the model for different markets. For example, TV content is primarily being consumed when if it's not ad supported as EST if you want to purchase it. But in a market like Japan, the market is actually more conducive to renting TV episodes. So we just recently launched a rental service in Japan for TV and anime episodes, and most of the large broadcasters and animation studios are working with us on that. So I think for us it's about continuing to evolve the platform to offer more and more choice to content owners so that they can make the decision on what makes the most sense for them.
Okay. A word about piracy. What confidence can content owners really have that they can truly protect against piracy across these platforms?
So, I started off by saying that, we're a technology company. One of the first things that Google did when we acquired YouTube was really kind of tackle this issue by creating a product called Content ID. We've spent $60 million building a very, very robust content identification system that helps content owners identify content that they own that is potentially on the platform today or might be uploaded in the future, and then decide what they want to do with it. That's block it in some markets, but make it available in some other markets, track it for analytics, or monetize it. And over time, we've found that thousands and thousands of content owners now are actually choosing to engage with that fan activity. It creates virality, it creates distribution, and as long as they're able to control how the content is viewed and where it's viewed, they're actually choosing to monetize that now.
Okay. Just before we wrap up the panel, I think the last question should be, in all honesty, what keeps you awake at night? What's the biggest challenge for each of you for your platforms? Tommy, let's start with you.
Well, I think it's basically, working with the telco culture. I think I introduced how hard it is and how slow it is for either content providers or even in-house working under the telco umbrella. So we actually need to keep our communication channels very open, and we need to work religiously in trying to actually get things going within the company, and trying to do a deal with content providers. We need to be fast, and we need to actually create better monetization models for the content providers for working with the mobile carriers like us. So I think that's basically what keeps me up at night is how do we actually create more value for the content providers as well as for the consumers that are using our services.
Thank you. What about for Pooq?
Yeah, maybe smart guys like Tommy in the telco industry, they're actually coming into the media companies, media industry. So last week, Samsung launched the Samsung Smart Hub, which it was the Samsung Music service. So we're seeing all the big giants coming into the media business. So that's a really big threat to us because we're still a small company here. We only have 2.1 million subscribers now. So we're expecting more and more competition from telcos, internet companies, and even the device companies. And well, we'll find out who wins next year. So.
Okay, Sarah, is it mistakes with translations, or what's the biggest problem for you?
No, actually, that the community actually solves that themselves. They actually hire. We have community members who would engage their ER friends, friends who are working in ER, just so that they can translate a medical drama accurately.
Okay.
So that's dedication from our community side. So what keeps me up at night? The 300 million goal in the next few years keeps me up at night. It's our joint objective with Rakuten, and so the bar is really high. But what we do know is that we won't get there just by having a great product. We can only get there by having great content on a great product. And so, linking up to that, I think what keeps me up at night often is because Viki is very different in terms of the value we can bring to content partners and broadcasters around the world. And so being able to fully explain and help the partners understand the value proposition is something that continues to be a challenge, and I work on every day.
Okay. Gautam, a very brief final word. I'm not sure how controversial this will be given the last word to YouTube, but what keeps you up at night?
I mean, I think, we talk about 100 hours of content being uploaded every minute. That's great, but it also creates issues around discovery. For me, there's so much great content on YouTube, but a lot of it, people may not be aware of. So how do we make sure that, we're putting the right content, the right channels in front of users and fans? That's one major challenge that we continue to tackle. And I think the other one is just around, creating more diversification in the creator base. I think what you see in a lot of markets like the US and UK is this really vibrant creator community that's developed, and we're hoping that something similar happens in Asia as well. Okay, thank you. Well, time may be always on the attacker's side, but it's not on our side for this panel. So I'd like you all to join me in thanking our panelists.